Good morning. The toughest part was probably getting on the stage. I mean, me with my weight gets a little tough. Today we're going to talk about non-conformity. I'm sure you've heard a bit about this term before. I mean, we've been talking about on the same line since morning. So the title of my talk is Penguins, Light Bulb and a Beer Belly. I couldn't think of anything else, but I got something to show you, really. Hope it works. Fantastic. Well, it's decided not to work and I checked it 5 minutes ago. Murphy, I don't know, but I guess something to do with non-conformity is happening around in here. Okay? But think about two things. I'm sure all of us here can be pretty visual when they think. I mean, think about Rakhi Savandan. You can be pretty visual when you think, so think about a couple of things. Think about a penguin for me. Okay? You can see a penguin? All of us? Cool. Think about a crow. Which is birdier? Between a penguin and a crow, which one is more birdier? Crow. Why not a penguin? I mean, it is a bird. It has wings. Why not? Can't fly. But who said birds have to fly? Darwin didn't. He talked about birds first. I think somehow that is what non-conformity all boils down to at times. The general perception about non-conformity is it's about rebel. It's about going out of the way. It's about changing whatever is being done and discarding everything from scratch and starting afresh. But is that what non-conformity really is? I mean, think about it. So what I'm going to talk to you about today is really three things. Number one is, who are we? Conformist, non-conformist, confused? I don't know. The second thing I want to talk to you about today is, where is the problem? Why are we so confused around this? And the third thing is, what can we do to maybe get a little bit of insight into this confusion? So, conformists or non-conformists? How many of us sitting here have ever in their lives asked themselves the question, any question, that starts with, what if? Wow, anybody who hasn't? You haven't, sir? Well, I'm not going to talk about conformists too much then. But one way of looking at it, conformist, the way it's defined, or a lot of people have tried to define it. I don't know how well, but a lot of people have. And they define a conformist as somebody who is able to do things, and he's able to dream, he's able to achieve his goals, he's able to achieve anything that a non-conformist can. But he's able to do all of that with the help of logic. He needs to know if it's possible before he does it. He's calculated. He thinks. He thinks sometimes to the extent of just getting confused. But he thinks. And he does only those things which he thinks are possible. On the other hand, we've got non-conformists. Now, these are people who are absolutely okay with taking their clothes off. Not taking anything else off, but who are absolutely okay with taking their clothes off in public just because they believe in it. The belief is the factor that drives non-conformity, because mostly people think conformity is about belief. I believe in the system. I believe the fact that men don't like to shop, but I spent 3 hours finding this suit. But don't tell anybody that, because men don't like to shop. Belief. But is conformity about non-believing? Or is it about believing maybe 1 tablespoon more than what a conformist does? Because for what I know, when I really, really believe in something, I don't care about what others think. But when I don't believe in something that much, I only care about what others think. So I'll tell you a little story, okay? When I got married. And I got married when I was 19, okay? And it was a choice, not a compulsion. Choice because my girlfriend's then parents told me that we were planning to get her married. She's elder to me by about 2-3 years. So, they said, we plan to get her married. And I had like 2 choices in front of me. One, attend the marriage function, of course. The second one was, well, run away with her. That is what a conformist would think. Now, before this talk happened, really, I was a die-hard believer in the fact that since I was born, since that day, since the first time I winked at the nurse who took me from my mom's hand. Since that day, I'm a non-conformist. But until I researched on this, I didn't figure out that I'm absolutely a conformist. I mean, why would I wear a suit, you know? Absolutely a conformist. But what happened on that day when I went out there, when I was thinking to run away or to go attend the function, I was really, really stuck. I was conformed to the idea of that there are only two options. So I thought of something else. I thought, why don't we go and we talk to the parents? So talking to mom was easy as usual. Moms are really nice. I love them, you know. So talking to the mom was easy. I got her in on my side. And then was dad's chance and dad's turn. And I'm a Bengali, they're not, okay, which can be a problem at times in India. So I went and spoke to dad for about 2.5 hours. And I told him everything about myself. I've never spent so much time in an interview, mind you, okay. So I went in, I gave that interview, okay. And once the interview kind of got over, he was like, beta, I will tell you. And he was like, Agar aap Agarwal bhi hote, if you were an Agarwal, we would have thought, but you're a Chatterjee, so it's not possible. And I'm looking at it and thinking, well, I am what I am, can't change it, dude. But you know, it's just one of those things. So I kept thinking about it, I kept going on, and I finally told him that, I'm sure you've read the Gita, right? Everybody here? Okay. There's this line in there, and this is probably the most popular line. It says, Karmarne vadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachan. That's what I told him. I said, see, I will do the karma anyway, okay? I will get married to this girl because I really love her. But it's a choice that you have. You want to come to the marriage, you want to come with a search party to look after us later. So that one day really changed my thought process quite a bit. I was thinking that how come something which had only two choices had a third one, okay? And maybe that is where I first saw non-conformity happen ever in my life. A lot of other incidents happened too, which taught me that non-conformity may be one good idea that you can try sometimes in your life just to achieve that little bit more than what you do on an average. I'll tell you another story. My dad, I lost him when I was 13. Okay, and when he died, I was in school. He died in his 13th heart attack. Okay, he had 4 major, rest minor. He was a fighter, for what I know. And he was at a client meeting when he had his final heart attack. Okay, he had about 5 failed businesses, 1 very successful job, and 1 which was finally pulling our family through somewhere. That's why I started working at the age of 15. Okay, and that's how the story moved. Now, my dad, when he died, and this is a little, usual discretion is advised here. It's a little sensitive, this part. His body was lying there in front of me. The first thought that came into my head, the biggest thing was I was still thinking. And the next thing was, the thought that came into my head was, what if I could get a live wire from somewhere? Give him an electric shock. I mean, in the movies, that's what happens, right? Somebody goes unconscious, you give him a shock, the man stands up. Isn't that what it is? That's what I thought of. Thought of, maybe death is not all, maybe he's just unconscious, maybe I can just give him a shock and he buzzes up. So I went to my mother. Okay, and I went to my mom and I asked her this question, said, can I do that, mom? And she was crying. She smiled at me for a millisecond and she went back to crying again. And she hugged me tight so that I don't do it. But there's not been one day when I've thought of my dad and not thought about the electric shock. If you conform to things too much, what you take away with you is regret. And we know how hard it is to live with regret. I mean, what if you said something to that girl you met on the metro the other day? See, sometimes that is what regret is all about. Do you really want to regret? So, non-conformity, what is it all about? Okay. Well, we can think conformatively, I guess, for a while. Think about it and share with me. One guy got polio when he was 6. Definitely can't move his feet. His feet are like yay thin. Okay. And the rest of him is pretty big, tall guy. What's the most logical choice that comes up if he wants to do something in his life? I'll tell you what, learn typing and shorthand. And I'm not making this up, this is what these people are mostly doing. And there are case studies and stories on how one person who couldn't walk got up, learned to type and learned shorthand and went on all the way and made a career and is living a good life today. But this guy had a different plan. This guy's plan was, I'll do some exercise for my feet, I'll see if I can fix them up, and he did. And he went on to win 10 gold medals in the Olympics as an athlete. 1900, 1904, 1908. 10 gold medals. His name was Ray Urey. Okay? Now, that, for me, is what non-conformity turns out to be a lot of times. It's about trying that little bit harder. What do non-conformists do differently than what conformists succumb to at times? Well, it's not really your fault. I mean, most of us had our subjects chosen for us. I mean, come on. Math, science, commerce. Most of us were told what to do, when to do it, what to wear, how to live, how to eat, how to sleep, who to get married to, when to have kids. The list is kind of long. The last thing is happening with me these days. In-laws are like, have kids, have kids. I'm like, no. Too early. Sometimes non-conformity is just about being able to say no. Say no to what others are thinking and believing so that you can continue to believe on what you believe. Sometimes that's just it. So let me tell you a little story. Now this is a story about a little girl. Okay? A little girl who is really, really anxious whenever he gets into the kitchen. She gets into the kitchen. She goes into the kitchen and she finds out that her Didi is cooking some fish. She's frying some fish on the pan. She goes on and asks her, Didi, why did you cut the head and the tail of the fish off before frying it? Well, she couldn't answer, of course. She was like, I don't know. My mom used to do that. Our mom does that, so I did it because of that. So this little girl went all the way to her mom and asked her, why did you do that? Dee told me you cut the head and tail of the fish before frying it. I'm a Bengali, I have to talk about fish, okay? So she went on and asked this question. Mom said, well, I don't know. Your grandma does that. I do that too. So she went all the way to her grandma. Went to the grandma and asked, why do you do that? Everybody else is doing that because of you. So grandma thought about it. She's old, of course, she takes time to think. Okay, so it's like a slow old Corvette starting up. Okay, so it takes a while. Okay, she got there finally. She realized, well, I don't know about why your Didi and mom do that, but I do it because I had a really small frying pan. Are you cutting the head and the tail of the fish off because you still think you have a small frying pan? That's one question that you got to ask yourself, because people, trust me, when Ray Urey did it, there was no Google for advices. There was no Facebook for popularity, but he still did it. We today have so much more. We today have Google, we have Facebook, we have TED. And we have people who know, who have done it before, who can help us, who can advise us. And that is what has made this frying pan a little larger. So ask yourself, what if? And maybe, just maybe, you can get something out of it. But by the way, what if Adam and Eve were conformists and they stuck to what God said? Think about it. So that's about it. Thank you very much.